What's up guys, Vress here. If you're thinking about picking up Guild Wars 2 in 2017 or beyond, then this review is for you. It's been a couple of years since I last played Guild Wars 2, but as I'm currently doing a series where I'm reviewing different MMORPGs, it would just feel plain wrong not to include Guild Wars 2, so let's check out how the game's doing. So, a little bit of background. Guild Wars 2 came out in 2012 to a great reception and it got some very good reviews. It quickly became second only to World of Warcraft, the titan that no one seems to be able to unseat. It's also worth mentioning that the Heart of Thorns expansion has been out for a while now, but you don't need that to get started playing Guild Wars 2. This review is just going to focus on the base version of the game. I'll probably be picking up Heart of Thorns pretty soon, and I'll put a review up of that when I do. So as always, let's start with the graphics and audio in the game. Now I think this game looks awesome. The art style of Guild Wars 2 is just incredible. It's one of the things that really drew me to the game in the first place. It's probably my favourite art style of any MMO that's been released. And I often find myself using one of the wallpapers from the Guild Wars 2 website as my desktop background. Considering the game came out in 2012, I think the graphics have held up really well, and I think it's because they chose an art style that isn't too realistic and also isn't too cartoony. It has quite a nice balance in the middle, which means that it doesn't age too quickly. The game is running really nicely on maxed out settings, as you would expect for a game that came out in 2012 playing on a 2017 rig. The game also features some pretty awesome audio. I always say this in my reviews, but I think audio is such an important factor when it comes to immersion in a game, and in Guild Wars 2 they've definitely nailed it. Moving on to gameplay, and we'll start with class selection. Now there are 9 professions that feel quite different and unique. However, if you want to play the Revenant, you're going to need to have the Heart of Thorns expansion. I've tried most of the classes and they all play very differently and they're a lot of fun. For this review I'm going to be creating a new Elementalist, and that's mostly because I'm just totally addicted to playing mage classes in MMOs. In terms of character customization, you have tons of options. I don't usually spend too long messing around with that kind of stuff, but some people love it and I don't think they'll be disappointed. I really do think the characters look awesome in this game. Like I said before, the art style in Guild Wars 2 is just top notch. When I first loaded the game back up after a couple of years of not playing, I remember how much I fell in love with this world the first time round. It still looks absolutely stunning 5 years after launch, and I immediately felt immersed in the world again. The servers seemed to be very healthy and there were tons of other people starting new characters at the same time as me. One thing I really enjoy about Guild Wars 2 is how good a job it does of telling the story. The spoken dialogue makes such a big difference and really makes you feel involved in the storyline. It's nice to see your avatar actually speak dialogue in an MMO. I'm actually really struggling to enjoy the quests in one of my favourite all-time MMOs, World of Warcraft, and that's because after playing games like Guild Wars 2 and Elder Scrolls Online, I'm really starting to realise that the quests aren't quite as engaging. The questing system itself is actually quite different to what you see in a lot of other MMOs. Those of you who have been playing MMOs for a long time are going to be very used to the quests where you speak to an NPC, you perform a task, and you return to the NPC. That's a pretty classic way of questing. However, in Guild Wars 2 it works a bit differently. Most of the quests you actually just stumble upon. When you open the map you can see all the different quests and tasks available to you. And you can just pick where you want to go and start participating in any given task. It's actually kind of a completionist dream, and even as someone who's not much of a completionist, I do find that I really want to complete each area before I move on in Guild Wars 2. Obviously the questing can get a little bit repetitive after a while, but I do think it's quite a refreshing take on traditional questing. Something I really enjoy about this game is the combat system. It does involve tab targeting and auto attacking, but it also mixes in some nice combat elements such as aim skills and the ability to dodge. I personally think it hits a really nice balance and it shines particularly in PvP. The way you skill up in Guild Wars is pretty cool too, and I really like the fact that a lot of the abilities are weapons based. So for example, as a mage, if you're wielding a dagger you'll have a different set of spells than you would if you were holding a two-handed staff. And for all you life skillers out there, there's some really good crafting options in Guild Wars 2. One thing that I immediately noticed and loved about this game was the deposit all items option in your inventory. There's nothing more frustrating than running out of space in your inventory, and if you hit that button it will just automatically deposit all crafting materials into a separate bag. It's pretty brilliant and it definitely takes a weight off your mind. So let's take a look at PvE, and to be honest this is where I think Guild Wars 2 is a little weaker than some other MMOs out there. To be honest, that's no fault of the game. It is more angled towards PvP, but one thing I would like to see is a bit more to do in the PvE endgame for Guild Wars 2. That being said, there's still plenty to enjoy. It's just probably not going to be the first choice for people who are seriously into raiding in the endgame. Guild Wars 2 strays away from the traditional tank, healer and DPS trinity. And whilst I commend them for that effort to do something different, and trust me, I can't wait to see someone come up with a new and successful group structure, but personally I think Guild Wars 2 hasn't quite managed to reach that. Now let's move on to PvP, and this is where Guild Wars 2 really excels, potentially above all other MMOs on the market. The PvP really is first class. I think one of the best features is that gear has zero impact on PvP. You can essentially make a level 1 character, join a PvP instance and be on level footing with everyone else. However, be warned if you're going to do this, because there are some serious PvP players in this game and you're likely going to get eaten for breakfast if you don't learn your class first. So in summary, I would highly recommend Guild Wars 2 for people who enjoy a good storyline and want to focus on PvP endgame. I'm definitely going to continue playing, and I'll probably pick up Heart of Thorns very soon, so if you subscribe to the channel then you'll get that content when it comes out. So that brings us to the end of this video. I'd love to hear about your experiences in Guild Wars 2 in the comments down below. Also, if you liked the video, please remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time.